Yeah, thanks, Cindy and Sunny, for a great overview of of the amazing amount of work that's happened over the past couple of years. So I'll open it up to anybody, or feel free to put your comments or questions in the
Vicky, will you take, or Sunny, will you take down the share screen so we can see, everybody can see each other? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
We can see some, well, we can see their squares.
Yeah. Questions, comments, anybody? Dasha, I see you waving your hand. Go ahead, please.
First of all, thank you so much for doing this seminar for us. And my question was, I guess maybe if you can comment from both of your perspectives, and Sunny being like a student as well, I'm always wondering about kind of navigating like power dynamics. So it's clear that you guys had such a great partnership, but I was wondering if there was like, if you guys talked early on about like how you might address those kind of things, or maybe that just didn't come up. But yeah, I'm just wondering, because obviously like there's differences in that. So I was wondering, if you had any experience of that, or maybe that wasn't your experience in this particular partnership, but how you might go about that. Doing this kind of work.
Did you say power dynamic?
Yeah, if there's any if you experience any, because I know sometimes even also coming from like a nursing background, even like just remembering being kind of at the bedside and then talking to physicians and things like that, just clear power dynamics between me and themselves, and then trying to like make my voice kind of be heard. So I was just wondering if you had any experiences of that while you guys were doing this project.
I'll start, Sunny, if that's okay. And maybe I want to make sure that, so if I don't answer this correctly, then say no, that wasn't what I was asking. But sorry, I wanted a couple of things. Power dynamic, like for Sunny and I.
Either between.
So let me talk a little bit about that. Because I've got a fair amount of positional authority as a program director, so I'm appreciative that sometimes it's a little bit scary to go and talk to the director. Aside from this work, I do what I can to flatten hierarchy. We've got our positional authority for some good reasons, and some of it's just old reasons. But so my personal opinion is that it is on people like me to create a space for people to be comfortable and able to share openly. That said, in positions like mine are stretched and don't have a lot of time, and sometimes that can come out in a variety of ways. So I would say that that Vicky's introduction certainly helped set the table for us. I think that the power dynamic is, Sunny, I don't feel like the power dynamic played out so much between you and I, but what I did do was use my, and Sunny referred to this a little bit, like I'm like, let me use my power for good here. Because if I said, sure, Sunny, go, work with the educator or the whoever, and you can get some posters up, just go ahead. But I thought I felt that our best opportunity was if I used my positional authority to promote this work. And in the communication that we put out, I was promoting, not just the work, but our team's opportunity to contribute to the creation of evidence. So the power dynamic, I'd say we used for good in this scenario. And I've been around for a long time. I know lots of people are maybe not as, sometimes people aren't always super friendly, and that power dynamic can seem like it's a little bit terrifying to go and engage. So I would look for opportunity for some introductions, because there's always people that know each other, and those relationships, really, communication and relationships are the how we get through most things. So build in some time to nurture the relationship. And so very simply said, if you demonstrate interest in how it's going to impact them, and that you want to be really clear that you're not trying to burden their workload, and that you want to try to, like, how can we work together to make this as useful for you and easy for not easy, but like to have it fit in, build into your project timeline, I guess, the opportunity for some relationship building so that you can establish yourselves a little bit, so then you don't end up in a place where you're coming asking for something and it feels like it's you don't have any pre-established engagement with that person. Because I can, over the years, there's been lots of things that come across my desk or my inbox, and they don't grab my attention as much well, it depends, but things that I know somebody, I'm motivated because I've got a relationship that's important to me that I want to maintain. And in addition to that, if that relationship is important to me and I have high value in it, and in this situation, like if Vicky's introducing me, then I'm paying attention because of the pre-established relationship that we have in the work that's happened. So the power dynamic can be used for good. I see Bonnie has her hand.
Hi, Sunny. It's nice to see your follow-up to last year's presentation for our class. And thank you for the presentation, both Cindy as well. I have some follow-up questions. I have 3 questions, if I am allowed. The first one is just to kind of reflect again on the power dynamics, because you are, it's more for Cindy, in a administrative role, and you're sending out these emails and invitations for your staff to be engaged in a research project. And so I'm just kind of questioning the power dynamics of that, because now we've got the boss telling the employees to participate in a study and how that could be mitigated or addressed. Second question, I don't know if you want me to ask one at a time or ask all 3 at once.
Well, I can answer that one. Real quick, okay. Maybe. So yes, you're right. It could be, it wasn't our communication. My communication wasn't, we were mindful to do it in a promoting, not an expecting way. So I hear what you're saying, Bonnie, about like, okay, well, and then what does that do to the, I mean, I don't know what that does to the rigor of the project or not, but no, I certainly wasn't out there like, you better do this project or there's going to be a problem for you. It was really it was me saying to the team, this is a big opportunity for us and let's take this opportunity. So I just, I think my angle was one of support for the work and support for the team to contribute versus I need and expect you to do this. So it's a good point though. So I think thinking about when we're using power for good, it is for good of all.
Thank you. Second question. Thank you. Second question. It's about only just because of my own personal experience trying to engage with staff, especially unionized staff, when they're taking time to do surveys or interviews, are they allowed to, or do you give them the opportunity to do it during their work time, or do you expect them to do these things outside of their work time? And if the latter is the case, when we're in this kind of staffing crisis where everybody's burnt out, how do you try to motivate and inspire them to use their personal time to participate in research? Because I think that's a big issue that I've encountered in my own experience so far. It could be both for Sunny and Cindy.
Sunny, do you have anything?
Yeah, sure. For my work, the staff did their surveys and their interviews, I think mostly on their own time. And for my to express appreciation for their time, I did offer honorariums for the interviews and also like a draw for participation for a gift card or a few gift cards for participation for the surveys. It was just a gesture to recognize that I know they are very busy people and they're very stressed and they have lots of commitments in their lives. And I'm very grateful that they can participate in my project, and this is the least that I can do. So in that way, I did put in a bit of effort there. I think in general, I just really tried in these help. I really just tried to motivate people to be willing to participate and kind of emphasize the importance of the topic and the relevance of this work and the potential findings for the way that they care for people who use unregulated substances, and just to it's kind of, I try to motivate their inherent willingness to participate as well. So I think it comes from like both considerations would be relevant here.
I will not monopolize your time, but I'll save my last question and follow up to Sunny's comment, but I'll let Caitlin go first.
Caitlin, do you want to go ahead, please? Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Bonnie. No worries.
Sorry, I'm just in a room with other people, so I was just asking them to be quiet. Thanks for the presentation, guys. Sunny, it's really nice to hear your presentation again. And Cindy, we've met briefly before, so it's nice to see you again. A bit more of a practical question, kind of related to what Bonnie brought up. And I feel like as a PhD student, it's something I would maybe feel awkward talking about, but questions about how our funding plays into the research project versus the organization and that relationship. And if there's any comments or anything about how conversations about Sunny, I know you had funding, what your funding can support, but then if the organization is able to support other things, what kind of bouncing those conversations look like, if either of you have any comments about that.
I'll go ahead. So I think it's going to be case by case because people have, oh my goodness. Well, I mean, we've got our operating budgets, right? And then depending on so many factors, sometimes there's money to spend and sometimes there isn't. Have to be creative and I'll just say creative sometimes to spend some money if you have it, and then there's people are differently motivated. So Sunny, I think you had your incentives. Aside from that, I don't think I spent it. I don't think I had to spend any money on this one actually, but I think that Caitlin, it's tough. I think it's something that can be explored kind of openly with some curiosity to see, do you have, some people have, you've got a pot for education, or you've got some money we're just at year end right here and I've got a little bit. It really is case by case. I don't think there's anything that we could say concretely that would be applied across all projects. So it's a tricky one with, I am not a person who expects people to volunteer their time. I do everything I can to pay nurses and everybody else for every moment that they engage at work, and that's not always possible. But I think it's flexibility, and probably early on talking about in the design what the incentive model is, if at all, and maybe there's an opportunity to throw in, the operator might have an opportunity to throw in some other options around incentivizing depending on what it is. I would suggest not coming forward with a financial ask, but just saying, here's what we have. Is there any opportunity you might have, or any other ideas you might have about how we might promote this work to get done, and just leave it a bit open like that. And they might have some ideas. I hope they might have some ideas. I hope that answers your question. It's not a very concrete answer.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I would be looking for Bonnie on my screen, and
my question is very similar.
I'm like, everybody moves
Caitlin's.
around. I'm like, you're right in the corner. So we've got a few minutes for just a couple more questions. Bonnie, did you have one more? And if anybody else does, please feel free to chat or put your hand up, and then we'll wrap up. Go ahead, Bonnie, please.
Mine is very similar to Caitlin's, because I was just curious, as a PhD student, how would you have money to give people as a token of gratitude for their time? So it's good to know that perhaps you could it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. There could be other incentives that you could offer for participants and working with operation leaders of creative ways of incentivizing participants. So thank you. I will.
And as a supervisor, I'll put this little plug in that it's our job to support that people have the ability to provide some sort of incentive or gratitude, so it's on us to ensure that that students are in a position that they can offer something in that kind of thing. So I'm happy to talk more about that, but I won't take over. But it is part of the supervisor's definite responsibility. And in the School of Nursing, for example, in the internal research grants and those kinds of things are wonderful opportunities and that to fund those kinds of incentivization and that kind of things that we can do. So I'll just put that little tidbit in that it's just how we work it to figure out how to get that money and use it. Does anybody else have any questions? Shaheen, please go ahead.
Week this question in just in the last few minutes, but Sunny, I really liked how you said how I don't know if this happened at the beginning of your process, but you talked about how you wanted to understand what would be meaningful for the organization in terms of how you would share back the findings. So I just wanted to sort of I wanted to understand that a little bit more in terms of how you integrated that into your process, especially since I heard Cindy also just talk about, the next steps being more KT and knowledge translation oriented. Was there anything early on in your process that's going to inform that KT next steps, or perhaps was happening during your data collection and data analysis process?
I can go. So I think my partnership with Cindy, again, it was from the beginning, and I anticipate it will be to the end as well. So, and from the very beginning, we did, as I mentioned, we try to meet with the leaders to see if they have a lot of contextual knowledge that would help with the design of the study. And then as we keep going with the data analysis process, we are also kind of sharing back what we are learning, and we will continue to do so as we go further down the process in terms of kind of near the end of the KT process, where we will reach out to Cindy and Aggie and say, hey, this is kind of what we found. What format should we present this to you or relate this information to? Do you want us to come and do a presentation and have like coffee sessions with people, or should we do a brochure? Or what kind of format would be most useful and most or really help the dissemination process to be most effective?
Awesome. Thank you, Sunny.
Vicki, could I add one comment? I know we're at time.
Yes, I could see your brain buzzing. So please add it, and then I'll wrap us up. Thanks.
I just want to revisit a couple of points that Sunny made, and that's about the mistake that she made around and what I want to tell you all is I completely forgot about that until Sunny reminded me when we were preparing for this. So I think you saw today like how stressful that was for Sunny and the weight of that. And when we talk about the positional authority that I have and the positions we were working with, and I have to say, and I want to reassure you, you guys are out there as adults, so this is true. We all make mistakes, and it is so okay. And at the time, I think when Sunny came and told us, I was like, oh, okay. So it really, of course, being mindful about the work that you're doing and accountable for everything. But I really want to reinforce the message that we all are learning all the time, and that it is like just being open and transparent about everything that's going is the way to go. So it struck me funny when we were prepping for this. I was like, what mistake? I don't remember a mistake. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I remember now. It was a complete non-issue. So I just wanted, don't stress about stuff like that.
Thanks, Cindy. And yes, I remember that well. It is the angst of how we get this kind of stuff done and communicate. but we're at time, and I just want to say thank you, Sunny and Cindy, for taking the time. And I know the work that went into how you're going to present today. So I know you're both incredibly busy, given as Sunny's busy writing and Cindy's busy trying to change the world. So there's and we're all trying to do in some way, shape, or form. So just a huge thank you for taking the time, and thanks to everybody for being online with us today. We will have a recording for this as well, and Patricia's hiding behind the beautiful snow picture there, but thank you, Patricia, for organizing us and hosting and making sure we all had access and that kind of thing. So yes, with Sunny's help to change the world. Thank you for that comment. So I hope everybody has a spectacular afternoon. If there's follow-up questions, you can send them our way, and we can follow up in that kind of thing. But yeah, thanks, and I hope to see you all again soon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.